fortunate enough to be sitting here today with Andris Apse, well-known Kiwi photographer. Andris, first of all, congratulations on your new book, Fiordland.
Thank you.
I trust many of us are going to look forward to enjoying that one as we've enjoyed your other books. Can I ask you a few questions today, such as, how come you ended up living in Okarito? What made you choose Okarito? And how long have you been here?
Well, we've been here 16 years now. 2000 we built here, and it's a place that I have loved for probably 40 years. So I've come here and camped and thought it would be wonderful to work from a situation like this, where within half an hour's walking either direction along the coast I can strike coastal scenery that there hasn't been a footprint on for ever. Or not ever. Well, there's people walk down there, but I can, if I'm down there early in the morning or late in the afternoon, it's just totally uninhabited, and it's got wild scenery with the highest mountains in the country as a backdrop, and one of the biggest lagoons in the country in the foreground, and native bush in between. It's a photographer's paradise, really. So it's not a place that you can bring a family up very easily. So really, it was the time to move to a place like this is when your children have left home, because schools are distant. You can't spend any money in Okarito, but it's paradise living here with a view over that coastline. When I was in Christchurch before we came here, it was always a massive expedition to go anywhere to get wilderness photography. But here, within half an hour, I'm in the wilderness in any direction.
And can you tell us perhaps what made you choose wilderness photography and landscape photography above people photography?
Well, I'm not truly a full wilderness photographer. I do photograph farmland because I look for content that satisfies me compositionally and aesthetically. So I'll photograph anything that meets that criteria. So I love wilderness. I thrive in a situation where I can look at a landscape and think, nothing in this front of me has been changed for 10,000 years, and that gives me a huge thrill. But also conversely, if I come to a bit of farmland that's got beautiful undulating hills, and it's been sown by man to have young wheat or something in it, but it's just soft and sensuous and beautiful. So I search for images that satisfy me aesthetically, and I'm not too fussy whether it's wilderness or farmland. But I wouldn't photograph cities at all. I've never been inspired by any building to photograph it. And people, I think, if I'm honest, I think I do use people in the distance for scale. But I never want them to dominate the scenery they're in. My work is to photograph the land, and people I don't want to have the dominance of people in the photographs, because they dominate our world anyway, and I'm trying to avoid showing how we've dominated the world.
You were saying that in your new book, Fiordland, the photos in the book, the collection, putting the book together, you spent over 500 nights in Fiordland, sleeping in tents to get that one made.
That's, mind you, it's over 20 or 30 years, but it's it's my ambition. Fiordland is where I wanted to become a photographer. When I first went in there, I saw the scenery, and I was just overawed by it. And it's just so untouched and primeval, and it's so mountainous and in parts of it, and sensual in others, with the bush rolling away into the distance, and untouched. There's no buildings, there's no people interfering with it, apart from fishing boats or the odd scenic flight going through there. And I was so overawed by it, as I said, that I thought there's got to be some way I can show people what we've got in New Zealand. And when I first went in there, I thought nobody knew about it, but I was just ignorant, but not many people went in there then, 30 years ago, not as many as they do now. And I had to learn to use a camera to photograph it. And now, after 35 years of photography, I've slowly put all the photographs together that I've been taking, and thought I'd love to be easing out of my career, the inspiration that the Fiordland gave me, I wanted to put it into a book at the other end of my career to show people this is what inspired me, this is what I've done over 20 years, and it took me over 500 nights camping in there, not to mention other trips where I've stayed in more easier accommodation. But it's a work from the heart, as it's what inspired me to become a photographer, and now I'm giving back, showing people why I became a photographer, and this is it.
That's fantastic. Yes.
And I wrote the book too. I tried to put that story across at the start of the book.
Yes. Okay, it's really interesting. So what I'm hearing is that it wouldn't be uncommon for you to pack a bag and head down to Fiordland and just spend a couple of weeks there at a time. Is that right?
Well, the longest I've had is 6 weeks on a camping trip, and the longest I've been on my own is probably a month. There's usually someone that calls in to see, to visit, especially helicopter pilots and fishermen who see you. This tent there that's there day after day after day on the coast somewhere, and they get curious, and when they learn what you're doing there, they're very helpful. You know, the helicopter pilot sometimes drops in the newspaper or a loaf of bread, and it's a nice break from our normal diet of my normal diet, fish and venison.
So would you describe yourself as impulsive?
No.
No. You're well planned?
I'm well planned, yeah. I don't think, no, I think I've learnt that being impulsive is bad for your health. I mean, out in the wilderness for a start, and photographically, you know, I prefer to study what's in front of me. You know, the photographers I sometimes have been with, work totally opposite to me. I call them shotgun photographers, that they'll walk into something, they'll have a brief look and say, wow, and then they'll get the camera out and they'll take 100 shots before I even sat down, basically. And after the event, I'll say to them, well, what did you get there? And they say, I don't know, I'll look at the photos when I get back. But I will look at it and carefully study it, and if the light's right and the conditions are right, I'll take a photograph or two, no more. And I know what I've got before. I've been around cameras long enough to understand that what I can do with the digital or film camera, and know if I've got it, why take another one? I know that I'll throw the other 99 away if I take 100. I'm only going to keep one, so if I can plan it, get the best I possibly can out of it by using my head, I'm not going to waste time taking 100 photographs.
And they say that a poor workman blames his tools, and you sound as though you are the opposite. It's not really about the camera for you. No. It's about what goes into it in the way of thought and planning. Who
said it? I've got a quote there. I just can't quite remember who it was, but the heart and mind are the true lens of a camera.
Fabulous.
And that has been my philosophy for years. And I'm sorry I can't remember the quote where it came from. It's not mine, but it's something I've followed all my life. The heart and the mind. So it's using your head and using your heart for the emotion of it.
And you obviously made the transition to digital. Do you believe in much post-processing in your work?
There's several photographs in this room have been stitched from a 5D camera, so there might be 8 frames. That's to get the size up so I can print it with high resolution for my print sales. There's only one photo I've taken in all the 30,000 of images that I've got in my files that has been no, it's a stitch still. I talked to you about it before. I've got a fishing boat, which is in high seas, which I arranged to have go out so I could photograph it in high seas. I needed a stormy photograph of the Fiordland coast, and we from the helicopter. We flew in a gale force wind, and radioed this boat that was sheltering from the storm, and told him what we were doing, and asked if he possibly could go out and be a model for us. And he jumped at the chance. He was bored of being in a sheltered sound, and he steamed out there, and we just told him, just steam up and down in front of the island as close as you want to go, but this is the arc of interest for me. You just keep going backwards and forwards there, and I'll get some shots, and when you're sick of it, away you go. So we're 5 to 9 metre swells we're getting, and 50 knots wind. It was pretty rough.
He obviously wanted a bit of excitement in his life as well.
Well, he gave up after one particularly big wave that broke everything loose in the boat. But I needed him at the peak of action on top of a wave, but also needed the wave crashing on the rocks in the background to show the 100 metres or so that these waves are crashing up the face. And I couldn't get it in one photograph, so I got the helicopter to hover as close as he could, as stationary as he could in 50 knots wind, and I got the boat at the top of the wave. Then I waited 5 seconds until the same wave went to and hit the rocks behind him.
Yes.
Photographed that, then I just joined them together.
Yes.
So I got the action. So I'm not a heavy user of Photoshop, but I do use it for all these photographs in here, and every photograph I've got has been finely balanced to the colour I want it and the contrast I want it. But I think if you look at any of them in here, there's not one that's unrealistic. No. I believe in turning the image into what I pre-visualised it as, because there are limitations with film and with digital that don't show the contrast or the colour ratio that I want, and I manipulate it to the point where I can get it as close as possible to what my preconceived idea was. And 90% of my photographs are preconceived. They're not taken by impulsively. You used that word before. Impulsiveness is a bad word in my opinion.
That's right. Of all your shots, do you have a favourite?
No. Everyone asks me that in interviews, in magazine interviews, and on the radio. And as I said earlier, I've got 30,000 shots, and I went through them in my mind for other people after the event, and thought, right, I looked through things that I had, and I came to the conclusion, I couldn't look through them all, but I came to the conclusion that I could throw away 28,000 today. I could burn them. I'd be happy with that. The other 2,000 are probably the cream of my work, which is on one of my websites. I've only got one of my websites. I've got 3 of them. I've only got 2,000 shots, which I consider, at the time I put them up, with 2,000 of my best images. If I was forced to, I could get rid of another 1,500 of them, and I still wouldn't mind if I burnt them. But I think when I got down to 100 or 200, I think they would be my legacy. They'd be the ones that I could never burn. And there's probably 50 amongst those that I'd call my favourites. So that's but that's after 40 years' work. Narrowed down to 50 shots. It's almost a shot a year, isn't it? But I prefer to show my best work. I don't like showing rubbish, and I have shown rubbish in the past, and I've deeply regretted it. And it's that word impulsive comes into again, where someone wants an image for a specific purpose, and I think, oh yeah, I'll give them these, but I haven't used my brain enough, and I've cringed, and when they've used something I'm not really happy with, and that's impulsiveness again. I try to fight that, and I throw away everything. People say you should keep everything, but I throw it away so it no longer comes into contention for everything, anything, for anyone. I'd rather have the best ones, and that's it.
And be
always show the
your
best.
heart about them.
Yep, absolutely. And can I just continue from that? You asked, we're talking about photography, and art photography, fine art photography. Can I say something about?
Absolutely.
Because I feel quite strongly about it. And I think someone said, do I consider myself an art or fine art photographer? And I think it's for the viewer to decide if you're a photographer, commercial photographer, an art photographer, or a fine art photographer. I take photographs that please me. I don't take photographs to please anybody else. So I work hard to get satisfaction out of an image I compose, sometimes over years, to work for the right weather conditions to get what I want. And if it sells, that's fine. But that's how I've got to make my money from it. But I refuse to take photographs to satisfy a perceived market. Never. So, okay, I said my piece there.
Good. And so for people who'd like to come and maybe see your gallery here, or contact you, or find your work online, how can they do that?
Well, mostly, as I said, I've got 3 websites. 2 of them are commercial, for commercial use of images for advertising and promotion. One of them is andrisapse.com, which is my gallery and book website,
Yes.
in which I promote the top selling images and a full range of my books. And we've got a gallery in Franz Joseph at the Oasis Hotel, which is more of a commercial gallery, which is open 9 to 5 every day of the week, and that is for the bus tours and people passing through.
Yes.
My own gallery here is more for the people who know of my work and want to come and meet me, and they're usually the ones that really want to look seriously at some of my best photographs.
Yes.
So we're open sometimes during the year when we're here for a week or two, and we have a sign at the bottom of the hill here saying the gallery's open, but other times on my website and on any advertising that we do, we put our phone number and email address and ask them to contact us to make an appointment. Yes. So that I can be guaranteed to be here when they come.
Yes, that's fabulous. Great. Okay. Oh, well, look, it's been really a pleasure meeting you and lovely talking with you today, and we do wish you well with the launch of the new book and all the books, really.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for your time.
Great.
I'm sitting here today, as you can see, with this beautiful book in front of me called Fiordland by Andris Apse. It's available in bookshops throughout New Zealand, and it's an absolutely beautiful book yet again.